Psychotechnologies live. Welcome to a not at all polarizing episode of Psychotechnologies live, where we talk about polarization, but we don't polarize people, or do we? Dun dun dun. So, Elliot, what is polarization, and what are like the most good thing about it and the worst thing about it?
Right. So I was like, our last episode, we talked about power. And if you try and understand power in a vacuum, you're like, okay, if I imagine like a flat plane of everything, and then there's this like somewhere in the middle, there's this thing that's like, I want power, like I want more, or I want something more. But actually, what we're doing is I want power in opposition to powerless. Like there's actually a second thing going on, that I'm moving towards power and I'm moving away from powerlessness. And so suddenly we're not looking at this one trait, we're looking at this trait in relation to its polar opposite. And so
I think that's really nice. Yeah. Like this is like to like say not the thing that you're talking about, but just something that's coming to mind is like this is like what the Bayesian updating is. So like in the rationality, it's like, what are the odds of something? It's like you're never like, what are the odds of something? You're like, what are the odds against? Like, what are the like odds for? What are the odds against? And so that's where the Bayesian statistics comes in, where
right.
It's not just what are the odds of something happening, it's what are the odds of it not happening, or whatever. Like, what are you comparing it?
Or the odds of this against every other possible world, right? There's a contrast. A lot of the time, I think people talk and embody without their polarity. And so there's someone who's like, I'm trying to be powerful here. I'm like, how do I get more powerful? I'm trying to be more powerful. But what they're doing is they're leaving this blind spot, this shadow of the like powerless. And so they're just being like a brute with power. Right?
Yeah,
if I just
they're not.
Brute, then like bash people down and like ignore as I like disempower other people, I feel great about having power, but everyone else feels bad about it.
Yeah. And it's often like the need for power is a reaction to a certain powerlessness that's happening.
That's right.
And then there is this like weird power or like value in being powerless sometimes. And so it's like important to not just only focus on one side of an extreme, but to have that balance and to see what it's like on the other side, not just react to demons or your emotions.
Right. So I was saying earlier, I gave this example of like, imagine a big guy with like big muscles, and there's like a big heavy boulder, and he like, you see him walk on stage, and then he like picks up the big heavy boulder, and like he looks like he barely struggles. He's like a big tough guy. He's struggling a little bit, but he looks like, oh, that's pretty cool. He's so strong he can lift up a boulder. And then he puts the boulder down, and then you imagine this like scrawny guy walk on stage, and you're like, all right. And then the scrawny guy like struggles and shakes and lifts up this massive boulder. You're like, holy shit, that guy has way more power. He's like, he's got, I don't know about that big guy. He could do that easy, but like, what's the big deal? This guy, he's doing something impressive. Like there's something about powerlessness that makes power look exciting from that place. Like it's easy. And if you think of, people talk about this in like Cirque du Soleil, and they practice juggling like 20 hours a day. They're like nuts in Cirque du Soleil. And so they do the trick and it looks easy. And then people are like, well, that's boring. They just did an easy trick. But they've been practicing for so long, they just make it look easy, right? So there's actually, when you get to like high level of performance, there's a skill of proceeding to continue to make it look difficult, or like continuing to push your edge of what is difficult for you to do, even though you're pulling it off. And that's way more fun to watch than someone who just knows how to do the trick. So this is the polarity. Like the world becomes more full and more rich when we include the opposite with our experience of the polarity.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. It like, it's not just the thing that you're doing, it like provides the context for the thing.
Right.
And then it invokes all of that that's going on.
Right.
And I think that's a thing like performers tend to do, like magicians or whatever.
A good magician, right? They know how to do it. They know how to like play themselves up, and right. So we get to this point, and I'm like, okay, do you have a polarity, or do you have a trait that you want to practice? and then we can just like we can jam on it.
Oh, you want to do that? Yeah. So I think of almost thinking and emotions as polarities, which I know I think that they're technically not, like they're different things, but I think people and myself, we tend to move from like either like I'm thinking either I'm like repressing my emotions, thinking logically, or um or I'm
Like flowing.
or I'm like emotional. I'm like not really worried about facts or like truth and stuff. It's just kind of like no thoughts, just vibes. Um,
Cool.
eh,
Great. This is excellent. We can play with this one.
yeah.
So
I don't think it's a true polarity, but I think it is.
there's another complicated layer, but I'll get to that after. So let's start with like the logical one. Let's just like I'm be my logical self. I'm going to be most truth and facts. I'm going to be like square. I deserve a job as an accountant when I'm a square. Like, either the numbers add up or they don't. Get out of my office. Like the truth will be told in the spreadsheets.
Right. Facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, facts don't care about their feelings. They're just facts. Right. That's a real like. I do this square symbol, but it's like an intellectual vibe. I am a thinker. Like much of my being is concentrated on the thinker side of what to do here. And so this is one side of the puzzle here. We're like just gonna hang out in thinker space for a moment.
Okay. What am I thinking about?
I'd be like, how do you know you're in thinking space? That's a thinker question, right?
Oh, I've got this like workshop in my mind. So like when I move into thinking, it's like, okay, like we're just gonna like put a table down on whatever's happening, and like now we have this empty space to work with. And so like the emotions are like underneath, but they're like we're trying to like keep them all stable so that we can get some work done.
Right. So I spin some wheels in my head. I like pay attention. I'm like focused. Cool. Do you like this one? Do you like you're friends with your inner cognitive self?
Yeah. I don't. I used to spend more time thinking, but I found like the more time I spend thinking, not dealing with my emotions, the less space I have. Yeah. Right. So it's like now we're like processing. Yeah. I more try to feel in life, and then where I'm like, okay, actually, I need to like know what's going on. Then I press the emotions for bed, do the thinking, and then reintegrate.
Right. Totally. So this is the thinking side. Let's go check on the emotional side. Right.
Sure.
So we're gonna like take the thinking, put him aside for a bit, and like stay there. Try not to distract us while we like dive into the vibe space. Like, what is vibe space, Daniel? What is that thing? How do we know we're there?
Yeah, it's I think a lot of it is like how much input am I letting the environment, like how much am I letting the environment affect me, and how much am I just like kind of wandering, like I guess like internally or something.
It's more of a freedom.
I guess it's more of like a default, like a rest state, more than like an emotional state.
So vibe out, tune in. What's alive for you right now? How does it feel?
Yeah. And like things just happen. So like I just got an insight. I'm like, I realized like this space that I kind of enter where I'm like just vibing, it's more of like experiential space. Like it's like the Buddhist stuff is better descriptor for what's going on versus like emotional language. And so there's like it's kind of like the way, at least like I think of my experiences, there's like experiential, there's emotional, and then there's like mental process, and then there's like spiritual above that. But like this like emotional layer is kind of gets squished a bunch. Something that I have trouble accessing.
Right. Cool. So we've got like one end of the polarity over there is the intellectual self, and this end of the polarity has a more emotional and physical self, maybe.
Yeah.
Like this is different over here. There's a like
it's very like myopic. It's just like I feel things and therefore this is important.
Right. Because like information is coming up, therefore that's what's alive right now. This is it. I'm here.
Yeah. And then that's kind of like I try to like default rest state that. So I'm not I used to think all the time,
Mm.
but it's too much to do that now.
Yeah, I went through a phase where I was an all thinking creature. Like I didn't know the emotions were there anymore. That's how much of a thinker.
Yeah.
And then I've had to sort of do a bunch of work to return to emotional processing, emotional awareness.
Yeah.
So we have our polarity. Can we, so we're setting up the emotional end. Can we like shift back maybe, can you do 50-50? Is that like somewhere in the middle where they're both up?
Of like emotional logical.
Yeah.
Yeah, this feels pretty like contrast. Like it's not
They don't fight each other too hard right now.
yeah, because I'm not like neither one is really setting the context. Like you're setting context, so it's kind of like just responding with whatever's going on.
Right. Okay. So let's try something. Let's so if we go up,
It's got some emotions.
oh yeah. Oh, very cute.
Emotions. We had Psychotech Lab today in Toronto.
Mm.
It was awesome.
Nice. All right, let's go all the way up the cognitive end for a moment. So we're gonna like ignore the emotions for a bit. We're back in our workshop with our table and let's like lay it out. Right.
So we're gonna like be cognitive about the emotions.
But we're gonna hang out in the cognitive side of the polarity for a moment.
Okay.
We're here in the thinker again, thinker in charge, thinker leading, like right. So what we did before when we visited the thinker is we turned up the volume on the thinker. Like let's like amplify our thinker, like our thinker is the main one here. Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try a different movement of like without changing the other stuff, can we just turn down the thinker? Like, good job, thinker. There's nothing for you to do. Like, relax, step down. And so we kind of have our emotional one still up, but we're just turning down the thinker.
Sure.
And so in theory, what will happen is that the cognitive brain will like go quieter, and the rest of the vibe will start like appearing.
Yeah.
It's like it's all there.
It's like I can see like the subconscious, like the waves. I don't know how to describe it. Like there's just like kind of things, but like I'm not seeing them. I'm like,
yeah, subjectively feeling them, or they're appearing in the intuitive space.
Yeah, like it's like the salience. It's like awareness of the salience landscape, I guess. Like what things are popping, or like what shapes I'm expecting to see.
Right, and I assume as you see some of those things, a couple of thinking things pop back in. They're like, oh, that was interesting. Let me think about that for a minute. So the thinker like sort of pops back in again, and we're like, thanks for that. That was insightful. That's like quite.
Well, I'm trying. Yeah. The thinker is like trying to explain it. Otherwise, it's like, which is like nonsense. So like, yeah, there's always this like translation like mechanism going on where I'm experiencing something and then I'm translating it into like language that humans that are not inside me can understand. I guess like not like I think a language other humans can understand. Yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of like leave that one a little bit turned down. Let's swap back to the emotional one. And we switch back into like emotional self, noticing the vibing.
Sure.
All right, and can you turn that one down as well?
Turn down the emotion
as well. Like, you know, again, we went there the first time by like turning it up, but like, what if we turn it down? So they're both turned down. We're just now it's just hanging out and there's nothing much happening. It's pretty chill. Cool. Seems quiet.
Yeah. I don't know. Nothing's happening.
But, I mean, like,
there's like this little bit of pressure to like participate and pay attention to, I guess. Like I haven't turned it down all the way, but like there's just like there's nothing there.
So like I know a bunch of people who would kill for a state where nothing was going on. Like they have ADHD, they're super distracted, they can't concentrate. Hell, I know a bunch of depressed people who can't even get to this sort of like chill. they would kill for just turning some of that shit down. Like this is just an interesting state here. They're like, oh, not much is going on.
Yeah. No, I worked very hard to be able to do this.
Nice.
Matt, I think, was actually one of the people that really helped me with that.
Huh. Cool. Okay. So we've got them both turned down. Like both of our polarities are kind of, both of the ends of the polarity are a little bit quiet. What is it like in the center of the two with both of them turned down?
Yeah, so there's still like an above and below, but the center is, it's like blank, I guess. But it's also like, it's a little bit of like a vacuum, I think, maybe as well. Yeah, we did the thing where this is interesting. It's like a different kind of going deep.
Mm.
It doesn't feel deep, but I like, I am starting to feel that like deep relaxation. There's like when they like the deep meditation, and then it just kind of like sucks you in. And during COVID, I got to do this more because like I could just sit and not do anything for a random amount of time because nobody knows how this plays out.
Right. So I'm just gonna give this center a name, the center between the two poles. I'm gonna call it like the still point because it's kind of halfway between the two. Right. Then it's pretty
Yeah,
still.
there's like an equilibrium there where you're not really getting, or you're getting equally pulled, so it feels like no force.
Right. So let's try a thing. If we stay at the still point, but we turn up the two dials on each side, so we start bringing both cognitive and emotional online, like lifting up both. Can you maintain the still point as you like increase activation or increase activity on both sides?
Yeah, it's giving me a bit of a headache. So it feels like a higher energy state. Yeah, it's interesting. Both these extremes that you went to are like, I don't normally spend time there. For the lower one, I don't spend time there because like I just won't talk to people.
Right. It can
Like I
have a
just
little
won't.
bit of like dullness and boredom there because there's just not much going on.
Well, I'm not bored. Like I mean, now I guess I haven't done this, so it's like very restful. But yeah, like it's, other people just don't want to interact with me when I'm like that. It's just like sucks all the energy out of the room.
Hmm.
And then this state is like, it's like much higher energy, and so they're like, I'm less predictable,
Hmm.
and so I'm gonna do things and I'm gonna get yelled at if I do them. Yeah. And then this one, yeah, like this one, like I don't want to get carried away because I'm still on the internet.
Right. I mean, part of what we're doing here, I think of like exploring the map. So we've drawn a map of the two polarities, and then we've like high energy, low energy up each end of the polarity. We're just meeting the different spots on the map, playing with the dials.
Yeah.
Hopefully, a little bit of self awareness about each of the places.
Yeah, this is very interesting.
Got him. I got him. I got him with a very interesting.
No, this is good. This is good. I'll listen to this after and do like a nice deep meditation. Just go down and like fall asleep.
Mm. I mean, to me, there's just a whole bunch of landscapes. There's a whole bunch of polarities. And I'm like, oh, have you tried this one? Have you tried that one? Just like tell people all the time, like, people are like, help, how do I be powerful? I'm like, well, maybe you're in the wrong corner of the landscape. Or maybe
Yeah.
the bits of your landscape you can't visit.
Yeah, like to get the deep power, there's like a superficial power and there's like a deep power. And the deep power you need to access like your whole self needs to be around all the time.
Mm,
Or like at least around in all like in like the cruxy situations.
right. In the like in all of the situations that I would get triggered and like my cognitive would take over and be like, I know what to do because I'm the brains. I actually want more of me online, activated and present, as opposed to shutting down and being shut down by various parts of me so that they can lead. I actually want more of me online.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think like people tend to like they tend to like get like a single thing and then sharpen it.
Like they get in a groove or like a response strategy.
Like they'll get the like I'm really good at like figuring this thing out, and they'll like that's like their intellect is very sharp in like a very specific way, and then they they do that
They
or
overuse that all the time. And then they're like
yeah,
using
and
it
then they get
everywhere in
burnt out.
places where it doesn't work as well.
Yeah, it would be like using like doing everything with like your like thumb.
Right.
Like you got the strongest thumb in the world and you're the best at using your thumb, but you use your thumb for everything. Like you're gonna get like that's not what your thumb is for. You're gonna
Uh,
get burnt out.
uh,
Or you're gonna
I like to
damage it
call
or
this one
something.
like man with a hammer syndrome.
Yeah. You
Like,
get really good at that hammer and you swing the hammer 1,000 times, but like you're gonna fuck up your arm. What you're doing all day is swinging a hammer.
it's not good to.
I mean, there are ways, obviously there are ways around that,
Yeah.
but yeah, like you want, but like the way around it is to be a whole person, right? Like you don't just like even the arm wrestlers, like they don't just exercise their arm wrestling like muscles. They have to do a full body workout,
Mm.
and yeah, like they focus, on that, and that's what they're maybe doing all the time, but they remember that they're a whole human.
Mm. So this has kind of gone in a different direction than I was expecting, but um, there are.
Well, you're the one that made me shut down my
Yeah,
brain, so
yeah.
you can't expect me to be able to stay on
Ah,
topic.
no, of course. But we found something interesting. So if you look at the two ends of our spectrum that we've drawn, we've got our intellectual up one end and our emotional up the other. We've got this polarity of like how much is each one turned on. We've actually got multiple polarities going on, right? Because we've got like cognitive up, cognitive down, emotional up, emotional down. Right? These are
Yeah.
like polarities which are kind of independent of the whether the other one is online. Obviously, there's like a little bit of a battle for space, or like which one's in charge or taking the most attention. But there's a polarity of yes cognitive or null cognitive, and a polarity of yes emotional or null emotional, or like quiet on the emotional. Um, and this is like when we say powerful and powerless, there's a powerful and not powerful, and there's a powerless and not powerless as well. So you can be feeling both powerful and powerless at the same time, and that's having everything switched on. And then you can be powerful and not powerless, or powerless and not powerful, or like neither. Right? Power and powerless just doesn't occur to me right now. So there's a whole bunch of different states.
Wait, you're saying powerless? Sorry, my mind wandered. You're
Let's
saying
go through this. Let's go through this a little.
okay.
So let's do the
Okay.
powerful side. So, what's it like to feel powerful?
What's it like to feel powerful? It's like you can do anything. Like the world is there for you to do things.
Right. There's like this rising sensation in me that's like, oh yeah, I feel like I puff my chest out. I'm like, this is great. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
oh
like a
yeah, like
fearlessness. Like
I'm gonna go
yeah.
forward and do whatever I like. Right.
Yeah. Powerful you just like do things. Like I think like when I'm in most power, I'm just doing things. Like
Mm,
I'm just making whatever I want happen.
right. It's just this is what I say. This is what we do. Easy path forward.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's turn that one back down. Like let's like let go with power. We don't really care about power anymore. Let's like switch across to the powerless. What does it feel like to like turn up the volume on powerless? Like what's it like to feel powerless?
So there's like the bad powerless and the good powerless, I think. So There's like the like neutral powerless is like when you're like, I'm powerless, but I don't need to do anything. So you're kind of just like sometimes I just watch like people interact and it's like not my interaction and I'm like powerless to do anything, but it's acknowledged that it's not like there's nothing I need to do.
Hmm.
And so there's this kind of like interesting like I guess equanimity, or it's a kind of like you're just like watching a movie that you're like in like an extra in or something.
Right. The actors are like having a fight, and you're like, oh, it's a fight, but I don't have to do anything.
Yeah. And if it's interesting, then you want to be, and then I want to be there. But let's say it's boring. Like sometimes I get stuck in social situations, and I'm like, okay, like it's like rude, like for whatever reason, it's rude to leave, or I don't have the energy to like figure out how to get out of here without pissing people off. I feel trapped sometimes in social situations, and um, then that's like powerless. It's just like draining. That's like I have the will and I can't execute. Like I can't do anything, and then I just get drained and I feel like shit.
Where do you feel it, or what do you feel? If you feel into powerlessness, how does it feel?
'Cause I
Is,
feel trapped. I don't know if like I guess it's not power. Like I think you're looking for powerlessness per se.
hmm.
I don't know that I've identified that feeling,
I have a sense of
but
small, like I feel small.
yeah, usually constrict, small and constricted.
Hmm.
Sometimes I feel small. Like when I'm next to like sometimes there's like big people around and I feel small, but it's like fun. Like I feel high energy. Um, but this is like it's not like I feel small and also too big.
Hmm.
Like also like I'm stuck in this container and it can't hold me. Right? Like sometimes I'm stuck in a container of like and it's like well there's like so much room and so many things to do that like I don't even care that I'm stuck here for a couple hours because I'm having fun.
Hmm.
Um,
It's a bunch of interesting stuff here in Powerless.
yeah, I think you keep asking me to like I think you're looking for like the experience per se of powerlessness.
Right. I'm looking for the interiors.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think like the thing like maybe the thing I'm thinking of. I don't know if this is exactly it. Is there's like a feeling of will of like when you try to do something, um, and the powerlessness is like you try to do it but it doesn't catch. So there's like often like I try to do things and there's like it requires like a large amount of willpower to get started, and then like once I'm going I'm like just going, but like and then like the initiation is like I'm trying to initiate it and it's not happening. And so that could be like in others or it could be in myself, like to get my body to do something. um and so or it's even like worse where it's just like well I can't even like flick that light, that pilot light on. Like I can't even, not like the starter, like I can't even push the starter. Like the starter button, and the starter button could be like right there, and I'm just like I just can't do it.
There is something very uncomfortable here in Powerless for you, I think.
Yeah. I hate it. And then there's like shit going on. Like sometimes there's like a powerlessness of like, well, it's like the environment is pleasant, so it doesn't really matter. It's like I
Right.
could just take a
I
nap,
mean,
but sometimes it's like very unpleasant and I can't do
we're
anything.
only so far past COVID where the government declared things upon us and everyone was made to feel a little bit powerless.
Yeah, like that sucked. I mean, like I made the most of it, and like, I feel like I did well. But like, yeah, it sucks. It was like completely like I'm like this is crazy, and like everyone is saying that no, we have to do this, and you're crazy, and yeah,
But that
it's
feeling.
just,
So I'm interested in
mm.
the feeling of powerless. Um, from even from the purely academic standpoint of like visiting the map, like being comfortable visiting anywhere on the map that we need to go. Because like in your future, you may feel a moment of powerlessness again, and I want you to be able to flow through it easily, as opposed to having to like buffer against it or fight.
Well, honestly, talking about it now, I'm like, well, I get stuck in situations I don't want to be in. Like, I'm not doing like I'm gonna do that less. I didn't realize how much it sucked. but I have been doing it a lot less.
Mm.
But
Naturally,
sometimes you don't know, or sometimes you get like they'll hype up something and then you go and it winds up sucking. But I am also getting better at just leaving things that I don't want to be, leaving places I don't want to be, because it's not like the police are going to come after me for
walking it. You
like
know,
inappropriately leaving a social situation.
only like once in my life did I walk out of a movie cinema. You know, like you paid for a movie ticket and you're like, the movie's 3 hours long, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna see the
Yeah,
movie. And then I sat down and I was like an hour in, and I was like, this movie is awful. I am
yeah.
angry at how awful this movie is.
I don't
Also,
go to
like,
movie theaters.
I paid for this.
Like,
This is when I was a teenager. I paid for this ticket. You know, I have friends in the row next to me, but this movie is actually terrible. Like,
it's
I don't know
awful,
how to
man.
put up with it. And like, I think I went to the bathroom for a bit, and I like took a long time because I was like, I actually don't care about this movie. But the willingness, that's probably the only movie I've ever walked out of. And I stopped going to movies so much, but
Which movie was it?
it was called The Boat That Rocked. And it was
I've
just
never heard of that movie.
right. That's because it was like not such an interesting movie in the scheme of things. But you know, my friends were there. I want to go with my friends, but they're like the willingness to walk away from like, I have spent money on this movie, but it sucked. So I'm gonna like, I would rather sit in the hall outside the movie theater than inside this movie theater for this movie. That's how bad I'm finding this movie.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's a like only one.
yeah, yeah. So it's like that, but imagine that you're like you can't leave.
Mm, right.
Like
That's
imagine you're there and you're like, I should leave. Should I leave? Shouldn't I leave? Like, what are the social thing? And then someone's gonna yell at me, and my wife's gonna be like, "Oh, that's so rude. How can you do that?" And I'm like, yeah, like it's yeah, like it fucking sucks. And then there's like a powerlessness. That's the
what
thing.
is
It's like
what
the
is
power is.
where in the body do you feel powerlessness? Let's go there.
I don't think it's the area where I should. I often feel it in my head, and I
Mm,
think that's like an issue because it's not. I don't think it's like my head that needs the power, right? Like the power comes from like the gut or something, or the heart, like because it's like that movement. It's like that movement, right? It's like where it's the legs. It's like where do my legs want to be?
Right. My feet will carry me away if they want to walk. So
Right, right. Like so, like some like because I think I do often move I move strategically. So I think a lot about like where I want to be and where I want to end up and like where the flow
mm,
of things is gonna go. And so I do often move strategically, but that's like very like if I'm that's very like in line. Like I'm like, yeah, okay. And then there's obviously like, no plans survives first contact. So there's like I'm thinking about all these things and then my legs kind of just do whatever they do. Yeah, I don't know how this happens. I think I like self-abandon it or something. Like I just like turn off a little bit
all right.
when I'm
So
in
so
bold
let's go there
situations.
again. Where do you feel the powerless right now?
Um, you just switch to right now where I was thinking about it, but now it's like a now. Yeah, so now it's like one of these things I do feel like kind of stuck here, but it's not unpleasant. And like I do feel like I can change the environment and like I'm here, like I'm like saying a bunch of stuff and like I'm expressing myself and like what's interesting, right? So there's like I want to be here.
Mm,
I guess that's like kind of like the difference. It's like I actually want to be here. And so even if I'm stuck here, it doesn't matter. Where do I feel powerless? I don't really feel powerless now.
oh, okay. So can we navigate back there? Remember, we've got the polarity of power on one side and powerless on the other.
Are you saying like now is in like my present moment, like what's going on now?
Sort of, but also you can call up a memory or something into the present moment and think about it, and that might remind you of what it's like to feel powerless.
Yeah, there's like an action I want to do, or there's an outcome I want to have, and I can't will it into existence.
Mm. And where do you feel that? Like, where in the body do you feel that?
It's a lack of. It's like I can't will it, so there's nowhere where it can be, so I don't feel it anywhere.
As in the, do you feel the emptiness in the body? If it's a lack of?
I feel my body not moving.
Ah, like almost like a freeze then?
Um,
I mean, the question is kind of like, how do you know powerlessness? And if it is, you know it by the emptiness or the non-movement, that's okay. That's still like the answer to the question is, I know it by the sense of my spirit internally not moving in me.
yeah, it's an unpleasant. Yeah, the powerlessness, at least the way I'm saying it, is it's an unpleasantness, and then it's lack of response to it. Like I think powerful people, they respond to unpleasant stimuli.
Like they
Like unpleasant stimuli that's not meaningful, they'll respond to that.
like they
Right?
act.
Like I can't imagine any of like the rich, powerful people in the world. Like if they're stuck at a dinner with boring people, like they'll just leave.
Right.
And like they're not like with boring people that they don't need, like they don't need anything from, and like they're not connecting with them. Like it's just they'll just like leave. Like why would they stay there?
Mm-hmm.
If you get stuck at a boring meeting, or then you're not powerful.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I have like weird perceptions
No,
of
no,
power, but
no, no, no. This is like on board with the sorts of things I hear from all sorts of people talking about powerlessness.
yeah, it's like a trap. It's like a lack of freedom. And that's like on a very basic level. That's like very like powerless, like powerless extreme.
What does it feel like to feel a lack of freedom? It's so hard to get to this interior.
Yeah. Lack of freedom is hard because it's like you know it when it's there. But a lot of it is like, I guess like maybe this is more intellectual of like, well, I can't do things that I want to do. It's like the impulses are corralled. I think is lack. There's various lacks of freedom.
Mm.
Actually, yeah, it's not because like the impulses being corralled is like one lack of freedom. That's like a psychological trapness.
Mm.
Um,
Super interesting. So there's, let me take a step back and like recontextualize with the big map. So we've got powerful, we can turn up and down powerful. And we've got this like over here on the powerless side, we've got this a whole bunch of different things. And kind of it's hard to turn up because there's all these cloudedness and these other phenomena that start coming in. But that one's not so easy to find. So I was going to be like, what if we can feel both powerful and powerless at the same time, like turn them both up? But now I'm not so sure that we can do that movement because we can't get clear on what's the powerless. What about if I was like, what is the opposite of powerful? Can you find it like that? Like in context of it.
Paralysis is like suffering. It's like suffering and no response.
As in no way out.
Not even no way out. It's like that's like a level of powerlessness, but like even more extreme is it's not even like you're trapped in suffering. It's like the suffering and you can't do anything. It's just there. And I guess like even enduring it is like some level of power. Like, okay, I'm gonna face it head on and endure it, which is like something I'm able to do now. Like there was a time where I just like I couldn't handle it and I would just react. And so like I do feel grateful that like I'm not. It's very rare that I'm in a powerless situation and I'm not like facing it, and like I'm in a suffering situation. I'm not like at least like enduring it and like being with myself through it. But yeah, like that's powerless. Like you're tied up and someone's hitting you, like you're powerless. But you still have your mind, I guess. Sorry, what were you saying? So you're saying like how do I do both activate both of these at the same time? It's not
That's what
possible.
I was considering going there, but that's like It's trickier right now for where you're at in your map.
Yeah.
But let me take a different thread. Something you said there of
I guess it's like a yin yang situation. You can actually the most.
something you said there of like powerlessness made me think of like the way that a baby or like a very young child just has no control over what is around them. Like maybe they're at the age where they can move their eyes, but they don't have like physical control over their body. So there's a sense of
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm on this train. I'm being taken places. It's what a baby experiences, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Babies do that a lot.
And like they may suddenly get hot or get cold, and they're like, well, I don't want to be hot right now, but there's literally nothing I can do about it because I'm a baby.
Well, they cry.
Right.
It's
Eventually
actually
they
very,
cry.
depending on your parents, it could be very effective.
Right.
But yeah, I remember when my eldest was like, cause he's transitioned, right? Like, so he was like very powerless, and now he's like relatively, he's a very powerful for his age.
Mm.
Yeah, like he transitioned. Like there was things that he didn't like, and then he kept trying to change them, and then he would like fail and cry and get overwhelmed, and we'd sit there with him and soothe him and tell him it's gonna be okay, and then try again, and then maybe he'd pass, and then they'd like then get arrogant, think he could do it, and then fail again. Like it's like a whole journey, right? Like he does the whole learning journey, and like a lot. So am I like that baby in those situations? Yeah, I'm like the
That's
baby
my
without the parents, without the ability to cry and like have someone soothe me.
right. So that was my curiosity as to like whether we can empathize with your own experience of powerlessness a bit better through that lens. Like
Can we empathize
particularly,
with my experience
and
of
also like
power?
this is why you might want to why you might have blanked out a lot of what it's like to feel powerless. Because
Yeah,
it's not such a fun place.
there's a lot of shame and judgment, right? Like I'm like, because like even now I'm like, oh well, like people, oh like I'm a baby and powerless sometimes, and like people are gonna react. I don't know how people are gonna react to that, right? Like,
Well, usually adults
I was
really like
thinking,
to shame babies for being babies. That's pretty normal for us.
yeah, adults do that. It's weird.
You're supposed to say, no, we don't do that. Adults care
No,
about
but they
babies. They don't shame
do.
babies for just being babies. That's
They
ridiculous.
do.
They do? What?
They do.
What do you mean they do? What do they do?
They do. They do this thing where it's the babies like like something like the worst thing that's ever happened to the baby happens, which is like they
Maybe the
went
baby
like
falls
five
over
minutes
or
without
something.
eating. 5 minutes longer than they wanted to without eating, right? Like, which in our perspective, like it's like things that are very like children could handle, but babies, like this is actually the worst thing that has ever happened to them in their whole life
Right.
because they were just born like 5 seconds ago.
They're having this sensation of hunger and they have no idea what it is or what to do about it other than like
Yeah.
some
Well, no, they
signal
have a
is like,
whole.
ah,
So for that, they have a whole procedure, right? Like there's a whole process that they go through for doing it, right? Like first they make noise and then they start to get agitated and then they'll get like crazy and
mm,
like inconsolable. But even when they get a little older and there's like a toy and then like they lose the toy or like they have to go to bed or like all these like things that you know just are just like you don't even register as an adult, but like to the kid it's like really it's like a big deal. Like for me it's like, yeah, this is a big deal. Like for you,
but this tiny
like I
human.
get it.
This is a big deal.
Right, challenges are relative, right? um And like they'll be like, yeah, like adults a lot of times they go, oh, this is so bad. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And I'm like, that's so fucking condescending. Like this literally is the worst thing that's ever happened to them.
Being hungry for 5 minutes. It is. At some age it is.
Yeah.
Later age, it's like, come on, you can hold on to it like for a couple more minutes. But at an
Yeah. And
early enough age, then it's also someone's body signals is telling them they're hungry. Like, okay.
Yeah, like they don't, but yeah, and it's like they don't even know they're hungry. They just know they're suffering, and they don't, or they're just suffering and they don't even know what's going on.
Hmm.
Um, or like there was a loud noise and they woke up or something, right? Like it's things that like it is things like it's things that yeah, like it's the things that happen to them are really not a big deal, like objectively, let's say, but they're a big deal for them,
In their
and then
tiny, tiny
they do get
universe.
shamed into that.
Yeah.
With that, which like you get, I think, some leeway at the beginning because they don't really understand shaming when they're born. But and then there's a point where you can like sort of like kind of make fun of them, but you're like playing with them so like they enjoy it. But you're like teasing them a little.
Even like peekaboo,
Um,
right? So like it's a game of like I disappear kind of.
yeah, peekaboo is like a whole that's like attachment, right? Like you're gone, now you're back, and you're gone and you're back. And like you're like training them to you're teaching them what it's like when they're gone. Because like nobody knows what it's like when they're gone because you're actually never gone, right? Like you're always where you are. but but yeah, when you do the peekaboo, it's like we like oh he's older now, so I do like I'm doing blankets. So I put or shirts. Like when I put the shirt on and then his head is under, he used to get like upset. And so I'm like, oh, where is he? Where's baby? And then oh, there he is. And then it's like this like gone from this experience where he's just like really annoyed to like it's fun. I'm like, oh, where's my hand? Here it is.
Hmm.
And um yeah, like that's regulating them. Like they're gone, we're disconnected, and we're gonna act like this is how we act when we're disconnected. Yeah, this is interesting. I'm like seeing my own attachment style issues, like trauma
Hmm.
of like I guess like in a situation like if I'm disconnected, like I could just dissociate or something, right? Or just like think my own thoughts and be with myself. But it's like hard to do that with other people. Like if I'm by myself, I'm by myself. If I'm with other people, I'm with other people. But I guess like having this like ability to like detach in a way.
Hmm.
It's interesting. Like this is kind of making me feel powerful again, or at least like not powerless. Maybe not an extreme powerful.
I'm hesitant of that side. I prefer something like this will make me feel that it's okay to feel powerless sometimes. Because if we just take things that make you feel powerless and shove them to the powerful, we've still left empty the powerless side. Whereas if it's like sometimes I feel powerful and that's great, and sometimes I feel powerless and that's also okay,
No, but
that's very much more freeing.
it's different arenas, right?
Right.
So like in the external world, I feel powerless often for most things, but
Hmm.
it doesn't really bother me that much because I don't like I'm not power hungry. Like I like
If the
I
government
want
out
power,
there, they
but I
do
want like
stuff.
very
You're not trying to be
specific.
a government. Like that's fine in the external world.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't need to control people. Like I don't need to control everyone. I just like there's some things I need to do.
Hmm.
Like I need to get attention sometimes and I need to get different things, but I don't need that much of it. And so it's pretty it's pretty straightforward to like on average I think um I don't know, even the external world, like the powerlessness, it's like well if I'm actually powerless then like I can still learn. Like I still pay attention and see what's going on. It's yeah, it's like when I don't have I feel like there's times when I'm not allowed to just experience whatever I'm experiencing.
And let me just check. When you say not allowed to, is that not allowed by other people or not allowed by yourself?
Yeah, like other people are gonna like give me shit, and so like that's the thing. It's like other people are gonna give me shit, so I like restrict. Like there's like a self restraint, which some of this is just being an adult of like, okay, like there's social costs to doing, like there's social effects on doing things, and so you regulate yourself.
For sure.
But like the regulation's supposed to be like work out on average over time.
So I want to just check, since it's other people and obviously you individually responding to the context of the other people, when you're alone, are you allowed to feel those ways with yourself?
Yeah, when I'm alone, I'm allowed to feel whatever I feel, especially like emotions. Like not all like I don't let all thought patterns happen,
Right.
but um emotion, yeah, like emotions are just emotions. Like they're meant to be free.
Mm-hmm. And was there a specific
On average, like on
was there
aggregate,
specific
like if I'm,
emotions that you or experiences that you're avoiding feeling in front of other people? Just to check if you can. If you
yeah. So like that shutting off thing, like that we did earlier, like I wouldn't do that with in front of other people
Mm.
unless we were like meditating or something. I actually do, like sometimes when we do meditations, like it's actually I'm like, oh, this is like a really good chance to just shut everything off. Even if they're trying to get me to do some other like crazy meditation, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. Like, you don't have to boss me. I'm too advanced for this shit. Like I'll hear you out and it's good, but like if I don't want to follow it, I'm not following it.
Mm.
Um or like speeches, I feel like I can often just turn off.
Mm.
Like sometimes people are talking at you and you're just a lot, like you can just turn off because nobody's paying attention.
Usually, when I'm listening to a speech, I switch people, which is like I do the like fully receptive and I embody the other person as I witness them. And like, what are they feeling when they're speaking?
Yeah,
Like a
I like to
nice,
do that too.
yeah. And that way I
Yeah,
get to be the active participant a little bit. Like my selfhood gets to be the active participant.
yeah. So I find I be me, and like I just like straightforward, like whatever shtick they're doing, I'm like, okay, let me see if works for me. Because sometimes they just do stuff, and I'm like, well, this is like I experienced on a very like, let's say, low Keegan level, but it was really good. So like whatever, right?
Mm.
um, and then I moved to, okay, like let me like engage with the speaker, like what's he doing, what are the techniques, like see the world from his perspective, and try to like extrapolate like what's going to happen, like what do I think, where's he coming from, what are his intentions that he's not talking about, what are like the other things going on, how long has he been doing this for, is he experienced, is his practice, like would I expect to change on the next one, like where's his consciousness, right? Like so trying to like really get into their world. But then sometimes like the speakers, like I went to this event yesterday, and one of the speakers was like really good, she's like really into what she was saying, but like one of the speakers, I think he just got like bored in the middle, or he was like had to talk for like an hour and he only really had like half an hour's worth of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
um so it was like stretching, and I just got bored, and I'm just like, you're not here, like you're not here, I'm not here.
Right. Right. Speaker abandons, I abandon. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I do think that when a person is projecting, like they're the main speaker, they're projecting their state out on the audience. If they've got blind spots in their state, they're just throwing that at everyone. Some people will receive, some people won't. But in general, like everyone will be feeling how that speaker feels by the end of the speech. Whereas if the speaker
Yeah.
is fully alive and embodying themselves and being and having a fascinating experience as they're talking about it, they will like share that with everyone.
Right. Right. And to be fair, like the right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like words that come from the heart go to the heart. And
Mm.
and I do, like this is a struggle for me to often do this, because I get, if I've done a thing a couple times, if I haven't done a thing a couple times, I'm not practiced at it. And if I've done it a couple times, I'm kind of bored at it.
Right.
So
This is that performer thing,
this is
right?
like a struggle.
Yeah. No, it's like it's also I find it super fascinating. Like I should get better at it once I practice, but actually I'm getting practiced and therefore I'm boring at it now because I'm
Yeah.
just good at it.
Yeah, but there is this other side. Like I find it's good if like when I practice on people who haven't heard it before,
Mm.
because then like that keeps alive, and like I'm like, talking to a person, and then I get to watch them experience my words, and that keeps me interested.
Right. Like when I speak, I try and embody the audience because I know what I'm saying and what I'm speaking, but I need to check that it's being received. Like I try and
yeah, I really need those reactions though.
the feedback.
Like yeah. Otherwise, it's just like talking on a wall.
Well, I do think there's a skill there as well. Being able to talk to a wall is something that some
No, that's a real skill. Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
beyond that, it's better to talk to an audience.
No, and I do the wall.
In retrospect, like if you can convince a wall of what you're saying, that's impressive.
You can't though.
Right, because it's dead. It's bricks.
It's not. But you can't. Yeah, like I do practice often. Because like often like it could take a bunch of times to practice just to be able to articulate all the words, enunciate them, just to like have it in a way where it's not just me stuttering, it's me like saying words smoothly, like in ways that normal humans. And then like the second, and then it's like, okay, like now what's the practice pitch, like what am I the thing I'm actually saying? But like getting to be able to express like all the things that I know people are already going to want to know, that's really good for that.
All right, I want to drop back to powerful and powerless, a little polarity from before.
Yeah, it's interesting. At the event, it was like very formal event. I was wearing my dad shirt and shorts, and everyone else is like dressed like blazer and all that stuff. I didn't really know what I was walking into, but also like I was like feeling very confident that day, so I'm like, I can just like, if I'm feeling like in the zone, I do whatever everybody else isn't doing, because then I got to stick out, and then people yeah, people will catch your eye, and like you can just, and they'll remember you, and they'll like know, like you can just you just need to be kind of, and then everything else will shape around you, versus like trying to blend in, which is like a thing most people do. Sorry.
Right, so feeling powerful, feeling powerless.
Yeah.
Can we go back there? Can you feel powerful in this moment?
So I feel powerful in this moment. I don't feel like powerful, but I would say like on the spectrum, I feel more powerful than powerless. But I wouldn't say I feel powerful.
So we've drawn this spectrum from powerful to powerless. And we're like, you said like in the middle off to the side, on the powerful side. Can you broaden out so that you're feeling a range of the spectrum? Like pushing to feeling the whole thing.
So like over the course of a minute, like,
yeah, try and hold, rather than holding a single like notch, holding like a broad range of state over the spectrum.
Not sure what you mean. Like you asked what I was feeling. I was just giving like a check-in of what I was feeling. Like it's not intentional.
Right. And now this is a practice of, can you expand so that you're heading towards both of the ends of the spectrum?
So when I try to like increase my power, it's like physical. Like it's kind of like the energy's going into my body.
Physically, yep.
But this is not like, I don't want to do this because like the only physical move I really have is just like, it's just to like get up, and it's going to increase my odds of.
Right. We don't.
I'm not going to table flip because all my shit's on my desk and on like monitors and stuff. But
but it's kind of like switching on the possibility. If I wanted, I could flip this table. Right. That's like, I have access to that. Like my power.
No, I don't want access to that.
Oh. You don't want.
Why would I want that queued up?
Because it feels powerful. Because it's enjoyable to feel powerful.
No,
I don't think you will.
No, flipping over your table, like different situations, but like flipping over the table with the monitors on it and like cups and stuff. That's not powerful. I would feel out of control, not powerful. I feel more powerful like having that not an option.
Okay.
Right, because then I feel like I can just be more intuitive and just flow more, and I'm not going to do shit. Like this is like one of the things I do is like I kind of it's like have awareness of the stuff around me, because like I like to talk with my hands, and if I don't mentally like get a map of all the things that I can knock over, then I can't talk with my hands. And so like part of what I do is like to set up my spaces. I don't have knockoverable things around, or it's like in a very specific location, and then I can be more intuitive. I don't have
We
to
also
check
talked
myself.
last episode in terms of power. We talked about power over self as like being much more powerful. To have power over yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where we're at. We're in the power over self. I'm not an idiot who's going to knock over my whole table. I'm like I'm a controlled human who's like doing what I'm going to do here.
Yeah. I'm noticing like the reflexes of like, cause like my monitor does, if you get like it's going to fall a certain way. And so there's like a certain reflex of like to catch it.
Right.
And like I'm noticing like that one's queued up.
Right.
Which I really should do something about.
So what about heading towards the powerless side? Like making it's kind of like opening the door to that side as well. There's some fear stuff that opens up.
Yeah. So I mean, really the thing is like the main thing that's going on here is I guess my ability to articulate, my ability to find interesting things, and then like our relationship currently, like the back and forth there. So like those are the salient, like the rest of the stuff isn't salient. Like one baby's asleep, one baby's with my wife. So like there's nothing else, like there's nothing else in the world that I need to pay attention to right now. I got the YouTube up in case people do comments, chat. And like that's it. Nothing else exists. Right? Because like I don't need it. Like this is what we're doing now. I've committed my life to this until the end of the episode.
Everything about my present moment is this, what we're doing here. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I am juggling here as I guide you through things is sort of freedom over this territory that is from powerless to powerful. Like can we visit all sorts of spots on that territory, and can we visit a breadth over the territory? Like as you go about your life, you're not fully in control because you interact with the external world of how much you feel powerless or powerful. And because of that, you may just suddenly find yourself feeling a bit powerless, or suddenly finding yourself feeling and really enjoying being quite powerful. You like go to the gym and you lift a heavy thing. You're like, I feel powerful.
Yo, yeah. After a gym, I feel like friggin'
right.
And actually during this episode, my gym buddy just messaged me to go to the gym tomorrow.
Right. And then you look to your side and there's this really like a guy who's double your size lifting things double as big as you. And you're like, so powerful, less powerful, like in relation to that. Like the external world will influence how powerful or powerless we feel moment to moment.
Yeah. That kind of stuff doesn't make
maybe
me
that's not a good example.
Yeah, like someone else doing better than me doesn't make me feel powerless. It makes me feel like it kind of opens up the scope.
Maybe let's change the example. You lift up the heavy thing, you feel powerful, and then as you go to put it down, you drop it on your toe. And then you're like, I feel powerless against my own pain. Like this absolutely sucks. Why did I do that?
I used to have that, but like that sucked a lot, so I stopped doing it.
That's good. I'm glad.
Yeah, because I pay attention, and like I sometimes like I won't do things where I'm like, okay, like I could do this thing, but then there's a chance it's gonna fail because of like external, like I'm not able to control the environment, so I just don't do it because it's too many times I put an effort for something and then it gets wasted. And I don't really have that kind of energy to spare. When I was younger, I did, but now I'm old.
So maybe I can say this. So as I guide you through different exercises, I am both feeling powerful because I'm the one in charge. I say, let's go here. And you kind of like come with me, and feeling powerless sometimes when you try it and nothing happens, or you try it and like, oh no, my exercise went bad. Right. I'm kind of got like, it's not personal. I'm not offended or anything, but I have all of these things happening that could have me feeling powerful or powerless in relation to my experience right now. If there were places that I would find harder to go, I would also find it harder to be my best self in this moment. I'd have to only pick good exercises. If I got blocked, then I'd have to like divert us or something, like bypass, run away from. Let's not try these exercises. They don't seem to work, right? If I knew myself as like powerless, and then that's bad, and then I'd have to like quickly try and recover by pulling out better exercises. Like there's somewhere on this spectrum that could really make me feel uncomfortable, probably, if I haven't practiced it yet.
Yeah. Well, you're saying kind of brings up something else. There's like this thing that happens to me sometimes where I'm like playing catch up. Like sometimes like I'm on top of things, and sometimes I feel like I'm playing catch up. Like in the weeds kind of situation. There, it's like it doesn't register really, because if it registered, if I'm like, oh, this is what's going on, I would just like take a breath, like take a beat, right? Like that's how you get out of the weeds when there's like too many things and you have to do them all right now. The first thing you do is to just stop and take a breath, because you're not going to get on, you're not going to be on top of anything. Everything's just going to run away. But and sometimes that happens to me. I try to notice, because I notice when I talk fast, it's like that, or I'm like trying to like, or like if I'm trying to convince someone is another like symptom of that. Because I should never really be trying to convince people of things, and I should never talking fast.
Right. Ideally, you say things, they feel inspired and they agree with you because they feel it's right, not because you managed to be the most convincing one.
Yeah.
Like you didn't actually force them to believe what you believe. You didn't have to coerce them at all. You didn't have to like.
You're having conversation.
Yeah. They just kind of like they heard you out, and they're like, oh, okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is something I used to do when I was younger. Like since the post rat stuff, I'm like, oh, like this is why things get frustrated, because I convince people of things, but then like I use logical arguments and things like that, and then it's like, well, that's actually not what motivates them.
Right. I'm sure you were highly convincing and highly frustrating to the people around you.
I'm not anymore. I can't even have like intellectual. I can have intellectual discussions anymore, even, because it's just like so. Like I just like can't, like just everything they say is wrong, so wrong. It's like it's just too much. Like we're having this debate, like AI debate, and I'm like, they ask like, but like AI is like this, so like what about that? I'm like, this is like, you are not thinking about this well. But like we weren't there to talk about AI. It was like a networking thing, and so I was like, well, actually, my real goal is to make connections with these people, not to be right about AI, which is no relevance to me. Yeah, we shouldn't get into that.
Let me bring another frame in, because this is something we've talked about before. If you think about, you mentioned Keegan levels, but if you think about spiral dynamics, different people on different levels of the spiral will like having different types of conversations. They'll like vibing in different ways. If you are free to vibe in all of the ways, you are a much more free human than if you can only enjoy, like if you can't enjoy those intellectuals, you're going to have a much harder time connecting with them. Like if you're resisting that, like that bit of spectrum. Like,
well, no, because the other stuff is
reason, you may want to like try and bring them into like a felt space or something you think they're blind to. But if you can enjoy them as they are, they'll probably go into where you are anyway.
Yeah. So you do that, but then it's the thing is like if somebody is anybody that's like doing like real things, like things that are like living their life, and they're like, this is real and important, it's immediately interesting, because it's like maybe they think they're on like intellectual, but they're not. Like they're on all the levels, right? Or all the levels will show up at some point. So I can still engage on whatever level I want with them, and it's still going to be relevant and affect them. It's when they like kind of like, oh, like we're just gonna do this like intellectual thing that I don't care about, because it could be ego, or it could just be like small talk or wasting time or something like that. then I get checked out because it's not stimulating. But if it's real, it's interesting. Like my kid is 2, and he's on
Yeah,
like
it's
a
a real
3-year-old
thing.
level. He's very smart,
Yeah.
but still the 3-year-old level is very, very not very advanced.
Mm.
But it's still like it's like genuinely interesting, some of the stuff he does, just because like he's fully there, and so it pulls you in.
Hmm. Okay, so let me round into the territory here. The map of polarity. So there's a lot of things we can put on opposite sides of polarity, and there's a lot of ways in which we don't like visiting the other side. Like if I want to try and feel powerful, I'm deliberately trying to avoid, like I'm going about it in a way to avoid that powerless side. But actually, that version of the like weak, scrawny looking guy like lifting up a big boulder, people are excited to see that, right? There's something really interesting,
Yeah, that's exciting.
right?
Yeah.
Right? Big guy lifting big thing, like, oh, cool, okay. Small guy
Oh, that's
lifting,
so cool.
whoa,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
there's
I've seen like videos of like these girls beating bodybuilders in jujitsu, like taking them down. Like that's interesting.
right, right. So there's this way in which kind of like knowing the whole of the polarity and being able to be in touch with it is like a powerful skill. I think the same when I pay attention to politics as well, the polarity in politics. Often people are trying to be on one side or the other side of the political spectrum,
Yeah.
and they are sort of trying to ignore the other side as much as they can because the other side's stupid heads.
Yeah.
And then there's a like, oh, wait a second. If I hold both sides, I'm smarter than both of you idiots. And if I hold both sides and lean to one of the sides, then I feel like I have a more well-rounded view.
Yeah. The problem is with that is like I've done that before where it's like you like relate to one person and then you relate to the other person, but then you put them in a room and now you have to like first off, the bonding I find is very like it's fake bonding because like I don't actually agree with anything you're saying. I think you're
Right.
very,
There's no trust built up.
yeah, so like it's like certain things, like there are values on both sides, and if people are like, yes, this is a value, I'm like, yes, this is my value too, and we can bond over that. But often like when it gets to like politics, it's like I'm like, no, like you're all stupid. Like like
I am better than you because I've declared you're all stupid. Wait, yes. Wait a second.
no, like legitimately the things you're saying are stupid, and like you're being manipulated by the politicians, so it's their job is to do it.
Right.
And like I don't want to bond with you over this.
Hmm.
A lot of conversation is bond. It's like either information transfer or it's bonding.
Right.
And so like some things are like, but that's the thing is like it doesn't matter. Like a child, like I can bond with a child if they're like, this is right and I'm going to do this. I'm like, yeah. I'm not bonding with them on an intellectual level, but I am bonding with them on like a spirit or on like a we're humans on this planet, and that's like the best bond anyway. So I don't know what I'm saying.
And let me go back to what I was saying there. So knowing the polarity is just really handy. It helps you navigate life in a different way. Noticing if you have any limits, like we're talking about the map here, right? Like imagine feeling powerless and imagine feeling powerful. You're literally sitting in your chair. Nothing's going to happen if you do one or the other, right? Because you're just sitting in your chair. But some people, Daniel, right now, as an example, has a difficulty imagining feeling powerless and letting that be true for a moment. Like, how many other people out in this world also can't feel powerless and had a really bad time when the government made them feel powerless because of COVID,
That was the
right?
worst. Yeah.
And we're talking about the map here, the map that is like your imagination and your internal experience of like what it's like feeling powerless. Everyone hates them. Like amazing how many people hate feeling powerless, unless you're tied up and being spanked in a kink scene, in which case you're like, this is what I need. Um,
Yeah.
some people like
That
that.
is not my thing.
A little bit fun to me, but like, some people like that. But
It's bizarre to me. Yeah.
here's the
Sorry. Yeah.
crazy thing: how much of our world is controlled? And I mean, by our world, I mean the collective world and also the world of many individuals. How much of the world of many individuals is controlled by our inability to feel things or our inability to go to places on our own map? So much of it.
Yeah. I feel like I'm not moving. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, like something about feeling powerless, and I'm like, no.
No, I don't want to even go
Honestly, I
there.
just like shut you out. Like I didn't even
Like,
listen
no,
to it.
no, 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 I don't want that. You could.
I'm like, you want me to
I don't want to
entertain
go
being
there.
powerless? Like, no, that's crazy. Like, I'll play the powerful game. Like, I don't like being in like too powerful position either. But because it's like weird. Then it's like, well, now everything I do has effects on people, and like sometimes I just like do things for no reason. Like, don't I have that with the kids sometimes because they just copy whatever you do.
Right.
So you have to like not like I have to like okay, don't I can't swear. I have to like be like I'll name things and I'll be like, oh, I think that's a this. And I'll be like, oh, I think it's a this. And I'm like, no, like just say the name. I have to get the name right the first time of the
Right.
thing. And I don't know the name of everything.
Like it's bird. You're like, I think that's a sparrow. And then later, they've not only picked up what a sparrow is, but they've picked up to use the phrase, I think it's a,
Yeah. And I'm
like, I think it's a cup in the next
and
3
then
days.
also like it turns out it's not a sparrow, it's like a robin. Like, and then it's like, well, now I've like formative him for this thing and it's wrong. Or the other one is like was like much worse, was like when he's doing what's that, and I have to guess, like he'll point to like an apple. I'll be like, I have to guess, is he talking about fruits or is he talking about an apple? Or is he talking about this specific apple? Like,
Mm,
yeah. And it's like it's like
lunch, right?
huh? Or lunch, yeah. Is it lunch?
That's my fruit. That's an apple. That's a red apple. That's a species of apple, whatever, Granny Smith or.
Yeah. And then like, yeah, we were having the car. I'm like, oh, do you want a snack? And he's like, yeah, a snack. And then I gave him like the veggie straws, and I did that twice in a row. And then the next time I'm like, oh, do you want a snack? And I give him just something else, and he gets upset because he's expecting the veggie straws. I'm like, oh no, he thinks veggie straws are snacks, or like the word snack.
Right, the category problem.
Yeah. But whatever. That's children's stuff. They figure it out.
Fascinating. Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a certain level of power. Like I don't necessarily want that much power.
Mm.
That's not the same because you have it's easy to give away power, it's hard to get power. Like it's easy to lose power, it's hard to gain power. So there's like and then the power is often also like limited. So if it limited scope or limited time. And so it's like stressful, but it's like, and I guess I don't have that much power, so it's not like burdensome to me where I'm always trying to get rid of it. Maybe that's what it is. Some people like their default is being powerful. My default is not. And so I'm constantly trying to not get stuck there in there. Because that's what they say, right? Like they say like the rich, powerful people are the ones that are into the submission kink.
You have the classic CEO going into a dominatrix sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's often the thing that we don't want to feel. That is, I mean, the way I think about this is that all over the map of our emotional experience are things that are enlivening to us. And so feeling powerful has a certain quality of enlivening. Like I feel more alive when I'm powerful. And feeling powerless has a different sort of intensity to it that I don't want to feel for some reason. But from a like good bad perspective, well, powerful is the good one, powerless is the bad one. And so I want to avoid the powerless one. But from an aliveness perspective, I actually want both. I want a life that's filled with all sorts of wonderful gifts of flavor and color and emotion that include both powerful and powerless. And so one future that I want is more of things, but I need the capacity to be able to tolerate and to be able to receive it. Otherwise, I'm just going to get shut down. I'm going to have the bad thing too much, and it's all going to burn, right? Going to be hypersensitive. So there's like a shift between there's like, this is a spiritual journey, right? Get the good one, not get the bad one for a while. Get lots of the good one, build up capacity and tolerance, and enjoy the good one. Realize that there's some like juiciness in the bad one as well. Like, oh, it feels fun to be a bad guy. Like, it's nice to be a good guy, be a hero, but then it's also, there's this enticing thing in being a bad guy. And so I want that one as well. Like, if I want to keep growing in my fullness, I need
It's interesting.
the opposite polarity.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm realizing like there's a thing I'm associating with powerlessness, which is like, I guess like it's like that BDSM thing that keeps coming to mind. It's like they're tied up and they're getting beaten.
Mm.
Right? Like I wouldn't mind being tied up if I wasn't getting beaten. Like if it's like, okay, tie up and like take a nap, like okay, fine. I guess that's kind of weird, but whatever. uh, but it's like you want to get out of it and you can't. I guess there's a calmness that should happen. So like in the BDSM, like when you do this, you go into like the ideal, I guess, or whatever. Like one of the things that could happen is that you move into a subspace, they call it, which is like shock, essentially. But not really shock, but like something like that. And so there's like this calmness that overtakes you. But I get that through, I can often get that through like meditation or connecting with people. Interesting. I'm starting to feel it actually now.
Maybe we should have picked an easier polarity for Daniel to feel into so you could get
No,
both.
this is a good one. Yeah, there's a little euphoria happening. This is good. I didn't expect to go here because I didn't want to go here, but it's uncomfortable. There's an uncomfortable like euphoria, like in my body.
There we go. That's better.
Yeah, I'm actually appreciating this because I realize like I've been doing like I guess like because like powerless is just powerless. Like I still exist.
Mm.
I just can't do things. But like there's no reason why I can't feel like I should still be able to feel good. I was doing this networking, I was feeling good where there's like social norms and I'm just still doing whatever I want and like I feel cool. Because like cool people do whatever they want, but also like social weirdos do whatever they want.
Mm.
So you want to be like the cool on the cool side.
Right. Right. So as I'm sitting here, I can feel more of a sense of aliveness coming online, which I'm assuming is Daniel's feeling into the powerless side as well as the powerful,
Yeah.
like both together.
There's a power here.
Power in powerlessness. That's what I've been saying. The weak guy lifting up the big boulder.
No, but that's different. Okay, this is different.
That's on the physical line, but
No, weak guy, yeah, the weak guy lifting up the big boulder. Like the weak guy is not powerless. He just looks powerless.
Right. He feels powerless, or like we project.
It's just your expectation. There's a subservient. You're subverting the expectations.
Right. We project on him. I look at him and I project on him that he is powerless, and then I see him pick up the big boulder, and I'm like, oh, he like beat my powerless projection. He like, even though I could see him as powerless, he still lifted up the thing.
Yeah. This is
the magician doing a trick that's easy for them, but making it look hard so it looks impressive. Yeah, that's subverting the expectation.
Yeah, but like something happens. Like something happens when you're powerless. Like something in your brain happens.
As in, like, I beat myself up, I put myself down, I feel disappointed, I tell myself the weak out story about how I'm useless. Like those.
So you could do that.
That's some of the things that happen for people when they feel powerless. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the things I think I was doing, where I was just like feeling bad about myself. But now I'm seeing this euphoria. Like I'm having this image. I'm watching Billions, and one of the characters is really, yeah, does this, and there's like there's a euphoria to it. Like you're tied up and you're like bounded and you're being tortured, and like this is the start of like all the slaves that escape bondage. Like this is where they start,
Right.
and it's not like a pragmatic thing of like it's like your soul starts to sing.
Yep.
This feels nice actually. Yeah, I feel like you kind of trapped me into doing this.
Oh my God. I've had to retell my, like, I've had to go around the mountain like 3 or 4 times to get you to even like get a little closer.
Yeah, yeah, but you finally managed to like trap me in here.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, like this is the thing you want. And so now I'm here and it sucks. But like, you know what? Like straight pain is euphoric.
Mm.
That's why people cut themselves. Don't cut yourself. But when you cut yourself, you release a bunch of, I
Endorphins.
forgot what chemical. Yeah, endorphins, maybe.
Okay, so can you do both powerless and powerful at the same time?
Well, it's different levels. They exist on different levels.
Right.
So like here, there's like a powerlessness of like, I have to do this thing that you're saying. And also I guess there's like a euphoria, and which isn't powerful. It's future power.
This should also.
Euphoria is yeah, very future oriented.
Mm. You should also feel like a sense of powerful competence, like you've actually got here now, along with the like feeling of power.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm imagining other situations. So I'm like, okay, like if I can feel euphoric, because euphoria is like, yeah, like euphoria is like you stop caring about things so much. Right. So like if you're trapped and things suck, then like it doesn't matter. Like if you break things, it doesn't matter. Like I'm thinking of like a lot of relationships I have where I'm like, if this happened to me where this person didn't like give me silent treatment for like 6 months, and I was like, oh wow, our relationship is so good, we never fight anymore. And I didn't even notice, and I'm like, okay, like actually this works for me. Like this works for me really well. And there's euphoria.
Maybe
But
it's
then
like
people
this.
react. People react to the euphoria. They don't trust you, and they start trying to knock you off. That's
Right.
the
So
problem.
are you saying like I'm gonna see Daniel being euphoric and I'm gonna try and make him feel more powerless again?
Yeah,
So then
because
you're
like
gonna
I'm
get
not
more.
participating in your game, and then I'm starting to get euphoric, and like you're gonna lose control of the vibes. Like if your vibes suck and I feel trapped, then I start feel euphoric. I'm gonna start doing things. Like other people are probably also trapped,
Right.
and so like you're gonna do a mutiny. Like you got to put that down.
Right. But then what's gonna happen if I try and make you feel more powerless? You're gonna feel more euphoric. It's just gonna fuel you.
Or you get me, or you get me in weak spots, things I have shame around.
Yeah, but that's just another sense of aliveness
Maybe that hurts.
for now. Because you're still perceiving hurt as a bad thing.
Yeah. Or sometimes like it's like I'm stuck in a situation and some of the people I like, but the room is not, and then I feel like it's like reputational damage.
Mhm.
Which maybe I'm just being a little over dramatic around that. Yeah, like if we had a guest to start being mean to me, then I wouldn't want to be here.
I must say, I have sometimes been mean to our guests, and I've seen them rise to the challenge amazingly. in response to
There's
it.
levels. There's levels.
There's
Yeah.
level like I initiate a tiny bit of meanness with the hope that they will like show up strong and then like whatever answer they give, I'm like, oh wow, I'm like I changed my mind.
Yeah.
And that builds a little like reinforcement loop.
Yeah, but that's like some sort of like artificial like conflict or something. Like
But it helps.
it's like, yeah, but like they know that coming in. It's like, okay, we're gonna challenge them on stuff. But if it's like challenge them and then they start a thing and then you're like, oh, you stumbled on your words, so that means that you're, like you start just doing stupid shit just to like ad hominem them. Like
I believe the challenge should appropriately match where the person is at. So if you challenge someone to keep chopping at them, they're not going to rise up. But if you give an appropriate challenge and they'll step up, you can give another challenge that's maybe even harder and they'll step up again. You can build this like positive feedback loop.
If you're the one in power, if you're the one that's powerless, you can't do any of that.
Well, unless you can feel your powerlessness and go in.
Okay. Maybe we should practice this. I feel clearer.
Nice.
This is good, actually.
It only took an hour and a half to get here. Good.
Yeah, my back pain is starting to relief as well. Wait, what is this? I need to crystallize it. I don't even know what's going on. It's like euphoric about my powerlessness.
I'd say there's like a willingness to feel. So along with this willingness to feel, I actually feel my spine straightening up here with us.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. I'm okay. Like I was trying to like compress myself to not feel powerless. And now I've like found a willingness to feel it. I can straighten up and feel powerless. Like it's okay to let it pass through me. And so now my whole spine is like, oh, that's better.
There's a thing I want to say that I'm not going to say on the air. It's like a very personal thing that's showing up right now. But yeah, I'm feeling like this huge relief in my back.
Takes a little bit of time to get used to. I've thrown you into some new states here. Like, takes a bit of like getting used to.
It feels like I've been like manually trying to keep my spine straight, and now this is like just relax. Like just relax your spine and it'll become straight.
Well, it's like trading off between a conscious system and an unconscious system. So you've been doing it consciously or semi-consciously. Now you're releasing it back into the unconscious system whose job it is to hold your body up.
Yeah, this makes no sense philosophically to me.
Because we're doing the paradox thing. This is what I said before we went on air. I was like, this is a paradox. It's not going to make any sense. You have to go to powerlessness to feel powerful, right?
It's not even feeling powerful. It's not that I feel powerful. There's like a thing in between power, or at least the way I like perceive it. Like if you're like relaxing and just like chilling in the sun or the shade, let's say, like you're not powerful, but you will be. It's like future power almost. Like this is what kind of feels like things are becoming normal. And so like, yeah, there's nothing I can really do right now, but like there will come a time where I can do something. But that's like the story. But that's not the story that got me here. I don't even know what the story is that got me here.
I believe it was a aliveness over avoiding the negative feeling.
No, that's what you said after. That's not what you said before.
Okay.
That's how you're describing it. That's not what drew me here. It's like it's the powerless. Something like, doesn't it feel good to be powerless? Yeah, so like feel good to be powerless. There's euphoria now. Euphoria is usually like the first time you do something right, you get euphoria.
Mm.
But then afterwards it's like a different good feeling.
You get like a bliss, like a first jhana type surprise, excitement, bliss.
Yeah. Yeah, and some people chase that. Like they'll chase that euphoria, and it's really like that's how you get addiction. It's because you try to do the same. You try to do something that will get you euphoria again, but it doesn't work because
You gotta like increase the dose of the stimuli.
well, no, this is bad. This is bad to do it because yeah, you can increase the dose and then you'll get the euphoria and increase it, but then you're like stuck on this linear path that leads to death and destruction. You got to always be like doing like growing essentially. If you're always like growing, you get like this like continuous drip of euphoria.
Right. That's the sort of nature of the impermanence of novelty. Like
Yeah, novelty can be that.
You go on a roller coaster and you have this sense of novelty. I've never been on the roller coaster. And so you go to do the roller coaster again, right? It's not going to have the same sense of novelty. It's going to have like just the roller coaster without the novelty. And you're like, wait, where's the thing that I really like the novelty bit? How do I get the novelty bit? Oh, I'll go on a bigger roller coaster, right? You go on the bigger roller coaster and you're like, yes, this one had it. And then you like do it again. You're like, no, it didn't. Like what? And you have to do this a bunch of times before you realize that the feeling is not roller coasters, it's novelties. And then now I need to work out how to make sure my life is filled with enough novelty so that I have enough new stuff happening all the time.
Yeah.
And that's the like meta skill, because there's always change.
Yeah. And you want it to be like there's like a bonus because if you get surprised by it, then you get it more. And it's you can't surprise yourself, but you can put yourself in situations where surprising things happen to you.
Right. This is what we say about meditative states. Enlightenment is not something you can do, but you can be more prone to be struck by enlightenment.
Right. I think this
makes you more available to those.
I think this is like what they're talking about with enlightenment, where like everything is new because each moment, like everything you're doing is new because you've never done it before. And so there's this like it's kind of like a hack where you're getting the constant, like there's always like they call it bliss, but it's really like a euphoria. There's like an underlying euphoria, and then other things you're more stable because other calls to euphoria just aren't as interesting. But the euphoria is not going to stick. This is the problem, right? Like I'm feeling it now. It's like the first time. Then the first time it's like in a live situation, I'll probably get the euphoria. But then there's going to be like some underlying feeling, I guess. I don't know. You've definitely shifted things.
I did something.
You've definitely done psycho